Hello, I'm Daniel, and welcome to the Emunah Project. What we're going to do here at the Emunah Project is do a small set of videos, perhaps a little longer than they normally are, with respect to some basic texts. And one of the first basic texts that I want to talk about is the Talmud. The Talmud is basically a compilation of what's called the oral law. When God gives commandments in the Torah, in the first 5 books of Moses, he'll say, do this, do that, thou shalt this, thou shalt not this. If you add all the thou shalts and thou shalt nots, 613 commandments. Of those commandments, while God tells us what to do, he almost never tells us how to do it. Now, it's inconceivable that God would tell us to do something and not tell us exactly how to do it or what he expects of us. Of course, he did tell us. The oral part was given to Moses and Aaron. It was passed down to the judges and the wise men, and eventually passed all the way down. And because if you look at the text of the Torah, some of the commandments are maddeningly brief. It says in Deuteronomy, you are to slaughter animals as I have shown you. You can turn the Hebrew scriptures upside down and inside out. Nowhere will you find any instructions on how to slaughter animals. It says in the book of Numbers, you're supposed to wear tzitzis, fringes, on the corners of your garments throughout your generation. It doesn't say what the fringes are to look like. It doesn't say what they're made of. Are they fringes like at the end of a border? Are they tassels? What are they made of? Where exactly they're placed? It is silent on the issue. Many commandments are like that. Passover. During Passover, it's forbidden to consume chametz. Doesn't say what chametz is. The word is mistranslated as leaven, and the penalty for consuming chametz on Passover is kares, spiritually being cut off from the people. So it's absolutely crucial to know exactly when Passover starts, using the Torah and nothing else. When does Passover start? It says the 15th day of the first month. When's the first month? It says the month of Aviv. Aviv, spring. Spring has 3 months. If Aviv is the first month, when does a month start? Does it start on the new moon? Does it start on the full moon? Does the month of Aviv start at the beginning of spring, on March 20th, 21st? It doesn't say. There was an oral explanation, and that oral explanation, which you needed or else you couldn't do any of the commandments, that was passed down generation to generation to generation for 1,000 years. Around about 200 years before the Common Era, with the persecutions and the dispersion of the Jewish people throughout the Mediterranean and through the Middle East, and communities all over the place, no mass communication, no internet, no emails. It was a concern to the rabbis that this oral tradition was going to start breaking down. So even though it was supposed to be an oral tradition, they decided to start writing it down, which they did. And for 100, 200 years, they wrote down a series of discussions and debates between various rabbis over what constituted exactly which oral law to which tradition, to which commandment. Eventually, this was written down. Yehuda Hanazi, Judah the Prince, codified it into the Mishna. That is basically, and I'm really oversimplifying it here, it's basically a commentary on the biblical commandments and the oral law. But the Mishnah didn't cover everything. And there's 63 tractates of the Mishnah. It didn't cover absolutely everything, and many times the Mishnah merely caused more questions to spring up. So for the next couple of hundred years, the next generations of rabbis did commentaries and debates and discussions with respect to the meaning of the Mishnah. And that was written down, and that was the commentary to the Mishnah. Again, oversimplification. The Mishnah is a commentary on the biblical commandments. The Gemara is a commentary on the Mishnah. The Mishnah and the Gemara together form the Talmud. Now, what you will see if you look at a Talmud, the Mishnah and the Gemara, they leapfrog each other. And you will see here, hopefully you can see here, you'll see those who are familiar with Hebrew, you'll see that the large mem, that's the Mishnah. The next line you'll see a gimel mem, that's the Gemara. A few lines later, Mishnah. And so sometimes they're large paragraphs, sometimes they're entire pages. So Mishnah, Gemara, Mishnah, Gemara. And you'll also see all around it commentaries by later rabbis. The Mishnah and Gemara together is the Talmud. You should also know, not everything that the rabbis of the Mishnah said was included in the Mishnah. A saying by a rabbi from the Mishnaic period, a Tanai, the sayings of the Tanai, if one of those sayings did not make its way into the Mishnah, that's called a Baraisa. You'll often see they say there's a Baraisa that says, or the rabbis taught in a Baraisa, Noahides. The passage in Tractate Sanhedrin that sets out the 7 commandments given to the sons of Noah, that's a Baraisa. We have here at the bottom of Sanhedrin, the second last line, right there. It says, Tana Rabban. The rabbis taught in a Baraisa, Sheva mitzvahs, and if you look at the very end, this last 2 words of the second last line, you will see Bnei Noach, sons of Noah, Noahides. That was a Baraisa. That was a saying of the Mishnah, the Mishnaic rabbis. It wasn't written down in the Mishnah, but it was recorded, and in the Gemara, in Sanhedrin, the rabbis taught in a Baraisa. The Talmud and the Mishnah and the Gemara, the Baraisas, that's the Talmud. And there were later commentaries by later rabbis all around the edges. This is the main text of Jewish law, and it has been for a very, very long time. So Mishnah, Gemara, Baraisa. Keep coming back, keep learning. And what we're going to do, another video on the Shulchan Aruch. The law continues. And until then, I hope you're enjoying these videos. On behalf of the Emunah Project, I'm Daniel. Thank you too much.